Hello everyone, this is MAAP REAL Talk Show with host George Nemeh in Mesa, Arizona. We are with Rachel Walden.
Rachel Walden, like the famous...
Rachel Walden, like the... I did say Walden.
Walden, yeah, like the famous pond in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it just, you know, like with the street sound and all that sounded a little different. Ma'am, this is our second interview with you today. And the reason why I'm talking a lot, because we are on the street, I hope we get the bus in. And we wanted to do it authentic. So, can you tell me what's been happening since I talked to you last till today, after you and I engaged over that interview? What kind of campaigning have you done so far?
Sure, well, I'm going to DC tomorrow. I got invited by Freedom Works, the best arm of the Freedom Works organization. They're flying some candidates out and activists and people from all over the country. So we're going to have a year-end wrap-up and then a kickoff for 2022, and that's when things are really going to start heating up campaign-wise for all candidates as we go into election year.
So who invited you? Well, you don't want to elaborate.
Well, you know what? It was the organization themselves. Somebody reached out to me and let me know that I was invited to this.
That is terrific. That is excellent for them to pick you out of the crowd. So what else did you do? Have you been campaigning with the events, or you're pretty much doing it on your own, campaigning, canvassing?
Yeah, I've been going to as many events as I can. I love to get out and talk to the voters. I went to an event. I talked to some teachers there. I talked to some police officers there. I got some really interesting information from some police. I started talking to them because I let them know I really would like to get to know more of the leaders in the Mesa PD to see what they would like to see from schools, security-wise and safety-wise, anything they want to talk about. If they could talk to a school board member, what would they say? And they actually let me know that at Keno Junior High, on the assigned reading list, there was a book called Ghost Boys, and it's about a boy that was killed by police officers, but the book is written in the boy's perspective, as if he would say if he was deceased, which of course no one knows, but the students were very upset by this book because it paints cops, all of them, as racist and evil, and so they actually had to have the police come to the school and do a panel so they could be available to talk to the children about that book and debrief them about what they read that was so upsetting. And I just wonder, with this heritage of great literature that we have in America, why would we choose something that is so upsetting and so divisive to our kids?
So listening to your story, can you tell us what you're running for, which you already know, and why? The most important question, why I asked the why, that's more important than why you're running, if that makes sense. Why are you running?
Well, I'm running because our students deserve an education, a real education where they're going to master math, they're going to master reading and writing and spelling and all that stuff that goes along with it, because those two subjects are the primary drivers of all future learning. The ability to do math helps you with problem solving and helps you become a better learner and thinker as you go forward, and same with reading. If you can read, you can learn anything. And if we're going to set our children up to be successful, to be confident and self-reliant adults, that's what education is for. And we're talking about education where we're all paying for it. It's taxpayer-funded education. And we're not going to be sending our kids to school for Marxist indoctrination. It's not helping anybody. We see depression and anxiety and suicides at this massive proportions right now, and at the same time we have abysmally low scores. I was trying to say scores in there. The scores are abysmal for math and for English language arts. And in English-speaking country, our children know less English than counterparts in Europe.
Okay, I'll wait a second.
Sure, yeah, fire truck. Look, this is
the last
downtown.
time we talked about curriculum, right? Remember the curriculum?
We did talk about curriculum.
I know you wanted to touch more base on it, and we were at the church. We had to leave. You want to elaborate one more time about this in a broader way? About our curriculum that's happening, that you like to see change? Yeah,
I would like to see change, a back to basics education for our students, and that's what they want, and that's what parents want. I'm out meeting all sorts of people, and that message really resonates with people. There's all sorts of things being taught at schools today. We're not trying to censor parents and censor people and say what people can learn or what they can't learn, but the issue is, what should they be learning while they're in school? They're actually only in school 20% of their waking hours. So you've got 6,000 hours that's estimated, the average that children have during the year, 6,000 waking hours, and only 1,000 of those hours are spent in school, which is almost 20% of their time. So if you want to learn other other fields. If you want your kids to learn Marxism, if you want them to learn these things, then they've got 80% of their waking hours to do that on, and they can do it in their own time. But for school, for taxpayer-funded school, we need to focus on true education and learning to teach them how to think and not what to think.
If Doug Ducey, our governor, is watching this show right now, and obviously you're running, so you're not there yet, what would you want him to do now that needs to be imperative to take action on with the legislative body when he meets with them in January?
Well, I think they really need to look at the laws and what they say school choice is, because in the Mesa School District, they have a circle of schools and they call it their parent choice schools, but they're public schools and they pick and choose who gets to go to those schools. And they deny enrollment based on whatever criteria they decide, attendance or something they see in the report card. No other public school gets to do that.
Right.
And these are public schools, mind you. And the law says, and Ducey has a website about this too with his name on it, and the law says,
yes, I saw.
The law says that you cannot deny enrollment in a public school unless there's a capacity issue. But the circle of schools that Mesa calls the parent choice schools, they're denying enrollment for all sorts of reasons. And I'm trying to figure out how that's gone on for so long and what law or loophole is being exploited, or is it just a blatant disregard of the law? Maybe they don't know it, but this is something that needs to be investigated, because it's not equal rights when the taxpayers are funding schools that the schools can look at a student and say, I don't want that student, I want this student. No other public school gets to do that. So what's going on with those schools in Mesa?
What would you do since you're running for what's your position?
School board.
School
There's
board.
5 governing members.
5 governing body. Now, what would be your first agenda that you would take action on the first day when you get appointed?
The very first
action. I always ask this because that's very important. What's on your mind, in other words?
What's on my mind is how do we eliminate a lot of curriculum that doesn't have any proven track record of success. And I've got, it's 11 pages front and back, this really long document of all these different vendors, and they all cost a lot of money. And when you look at the research, you look at what's being taught, how kids are learning English, they don't need all these different vendors. We can save a ton of money by shrinking down the curriculum that we're using to teach our kids, making sure that it's proven and that it works. If you're going to buy a product, you're not going to buy a product with no track record of success. We do have curriculum like Spalding Phonics or Saxon Math that has decades of research that says this works and it's really cheap. Why aren't we using that? And I know a lot of teachers, maybe they don't want to learn new curriculum. Well, maybe if we save some money in the budget, we could get that money back over to the teachers and get them some paid training to learn something new.
If you had to tell yourself something when you were 9 and 10-year-old, what would it be now if you had to give yourself an advice?
When I was 9 and 10, I would say hit those books.
Right.
Because education's key. And I'm not talking about just going to college. Your ability to learn new things, your ability to understand the world around you, to understand what your rights are. What are your rights as a citizen? What can you do for your community? All of that information that I've learned has come through self-study.
So if you tell a 9-year-old right now, a young girl listening to, because that's really what, I think you're a very strong person. I could tell already. Just, I hate to be washy-washy to tell you these things, but I think you know that already. You should be running for legislature too as well, because you have a lot of background, that's why I was so excited to interview you again.
Oh, thank you.
What would you tell, I coach soccer and I've coached girls and boys, and I know what they listen to sometimes is that one word. A 9-year-old, what would you tell her right now? I know you told yourself that. If a 9-year-old now listening to you, 9 and 10, because that's the age where they start paying attention, what would you tell that girl?
I would say go to the library
Right.
and find books that interest you. Don't worry about what they're telling you to read at school. You go read what sounds interesting to you, and you study it and you study it some more, because we have great literature out there. I think about Mark Twain. He said, I'd never let my schooling get in the way of my education. You have school and you have education, and you are completely responsible and can be responsible for your own education. And stop watching TV, stop looking at your phone, go to a library, find something that you like and learn everything you can about it. And you'll find out that as you get older, you're going to be led down all sorts of great opportunities, because you knew where to look for those opportunities.
Well, the last one, before you get us your information, how to reach you. You've been reading the news and you saw what's happening, what they indoctrinating the kids.
Yeah.
With those subjects. And I don't want to get into you probably know what I mean in case the kids are watching. This is a kids show too, they watch. So what would you tell the school system today, not when you were there already on the board, like what the education that they're giving it to them, if you know that reference
Are
to?
you talking about transgenderism
Yes,
and boys and girls bathrooms?
And girls and bathrooms and
those
all that
issues,
stuff.
because that's not right.
Because that was a big thing in Mesa. I covered it on the news.
Yeah.
About 6 months ago, 4 months ago. Can you elaborate on that today, or is it too premature?
Well, I just want to clarify that we're talking about the same thing. Are you talking about boys competing in girls sports?
Yes.
Bathrooms and locker rooms.
Bathrooms, locker room, the whole.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I don't.
Because Mesa had a big torch on this.
Yeah, but I don't believe in co-ed, commingling. And I actually on the there's a referendum because Mesa passed what they called the non-discrimination ordinance.
Right.
But there were things in that ordinance that were unconstitutional. I worked on gathering signatures to get a referendum so that we could get that on the ballot and be able to vote for whether that was something we wanted or not.
Right.
But no one's ever talked about this before. No one's ever come forward and said, you know what we really need is boys competing against girls. Look what we see with the MMA fighting. We're watching men beat up women, and people are sickened by it. We have physical differences, and when it comes to competition like sports, you don't get to choose who your competitors
It's common
are.
sense.
Yeah, but there's no sport that exists where you get to pick your competitors. You have the experts in the panel that pick your competitors for you. You don't get to go into a sport and say, I demand to compete with this person, I demand to compete with that person. And that's what we're seeing with transgenderism. And for women like myself that believe that I have a right to a private space as a woman, where are my rights for that? So a man comes along and says, I'm a woman, I want to come into your private space and I have a right to that. Well, what about my rights? What about the rights for kids and for parents that want to keep their kids safe? We're just going to disregard that because one person says, no, I want to do things this way. That's part of life, is having boundaries and limits. And we can't have a society without that.
Well, that kind of, I'll be our closing. How do people reach you, man?
So I've got a website, electrachelwalden.com. You can donate to my campaign. I still need more signatures to get on the ballot. So follow me on social media. My hashtags are Walden Patriot. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but I post events that I'm going to, so you can come to my event and sign my petition, and I'm happy to stay and do an interview. I'll do a meet and greet at your house. Let me know, because I'm happy to get more information out there. I've done a lot of research. I'm really prepared. I do more and more reading and studying every day to think about what are the real solutions. How can we help our schools? How can we enact positive change for our students and turn this thing around?
Well, with that, Rachel Walden, again, see, I said it perfect, right?
You did say it right the first time.
Yes.
I just repeated it.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Just to say it again, okay, because sometimes I thought I said it wrong.
You said it right.
I said it right. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Whoa, all right. That's a beautiful ending. And I just want to tell you, thank you so much for meeting me. We're gonna go to church in 2 minutes. Obviously, we're gonna have to meet up with the meet. Are you gonna be there tonight?
I'm gonna be there. Yeah.
Definitely.
The Amenito kickoff.
I just want to thank you so much for coming out to Main Street in Mesa, Arizona.
Thank you.
With MAAP Real Talk Show and host George Nemeh.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.